Coming up today on this week's episode, Microsoft may be working with Sony in the very near future, Activision launches beta for upcoming subscription-based service, David Jaffe responds to my concerns related to Twisted Metal hype, and then my interview with Tim Carter, writer and producer for Mortal Kombat Legacy and co-owner of Contradiction Films. Much more to come. This is Nick's Game Review. Hello everybody, welcome to Nick's Game Review episode number 46. You're here with your host, Nick McCandless. Have an awesome show ahead of you guys. Microsoft may be working with Sony in the very near future. On July 13th, Microsoft created and registered domains sony-microsoft.com and microsoft-sony.com. In addition to these two domains, on the same day, Microsoft registered both microsoftgain.com and microsoftgain.net. This will be very interesting and I'll keep you all tuned in, but this does not mean that something's going to happen, let alone in the gaming industry. It may just be that Sony is adopting Windows Mobile for their new cell phones. Who knows? I'll keep you all tuned in though. Activision launches beta for upcoming subscription-based service Call of Duty Elite. Activision's new subscription-based service for Call of Duty Black Ops and the upcoming Modern Warfare 3 Call of Duty Elite launched in beta form earlier this week on July 14th. If you have yet to receive your beta invite via email, don't worry, as over 2 million gamers have signed up for the Call of Duty Elite beta, and Activision has stated that the invites will be sent in waves to those who've signed up on the beta's official website. So if you've not received your beta but signed up for it, stay tuned. They're just sending them in waves. They have over 2 million people wanting to get in, so be patient. David Jaffe responds to my complaint of Twisted Metal hype. So if you've been following thegamerx.com, you would see that I posted an article this past week saying, well, Twisted Metal's not getting that much hype, and I talked about it. Posted it on Twitter, the man himself, David Jaffe, responded. He said, quote, "New info on the way. But I'm responding more to your search for hype. I get the very important need for hype in our business. Unlike movies, where prices are so impulsy that peeps at times take a chance on flicks that may not have super hype, games are just too expensive. So you have to live and die by hype first, reviews second, word of mouth third. If you get all three, tiger blood. But I can say that hype or not, I'm confident that people who have enjoyed Twisted Metal games in the past are going to feel this new one is hands down the best one ever made. I could not be more proud of Eat, Sleep, Play and Sony Santa Monica for all the amazing, hard, and talented work they've put into this game, and as I've said in the past, it represents the best work I've ever done on the series. If I never made another game again, I'd be very proud to go out with this one as the swan song. Do I want it to sell? Oh yeah, man, I so do. But the bigger, more important question is, will it be great? If for folks who dig this sort of game and the series in general, I can unequivocally say, oh hells yeah, it's going to be great. The rest is up to the gaming gods to determine how big of a hit we end up being. End quote. I went on to tell Jaffe that I enjoyed playing the demo available at Sony's after conference event during E3, and he replied, quote, "Bummed you did not play on the show floor. I feel we made a mistake showing what we did post-press conference because it was basically what we showed last year in an even smaller level. At the time, we felt it made sense because we didn't think a complex level like New York City or a complex mode like Nuke would work in that setting. But what happened was a good percentage of the press, big and small outlets, played the post-press conference build and assumed that was our E3 presence. And that's what they wrote about. To me, if you played Nuke E3, that's a 75% representation of how the final game is going to feel and play. So if you dug that, you will love the final game. If it left you cold, I doubt the other surprises up our sleeves will change your mind." I then went on to thank David for not being the typical director who is in it just for the money, but to also supply gamers with an experience we can all enjoy, and Jaffe responded by saying, quote, "Don't get me wrong, we all like cash, we all want a hit, but just saying that, hit or not, we remain super proud of our work." End quote. So huge shout out to David Jaffe himself. I love getting into a conversation with this guy on Twitter. He is the gaming god on Twitter. Whenever he posts something on Twitter, next thing you know, it's on 1,000 media outlets just because the way he talks is awesome. So huge shout out to David Jaffe himself. That's it for the gaming news, but not it for the show. Let's head to my interview with Tim Carter, writer and producer of Mortal Kombat Legacy and co-owner of Contradiction Films, and I'll be right back. Hello everybody, this is Nick, CEO of thegamerx.com and host of Nick's Game Review. I'm here with a very special guest today. I'd like to introduce you all to Tim Carter, writer, producer, and co-owner of Contradiction Films, the studio behind Mortal Kombat Legacy for Warner Brothers. How are you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Alright, now before we jump into any specifics, can you give us an overview of what your job is at Contradiction Films?
Well, as you said, I'm one of the owners here, so I'm between myself and my partner Tomas Harlan. One of us runs each project as they come out the door, and so on Mortal Kombat Legacy, I was the lead producer.
All right, now can you provide us with a synopsis of what Mortal Kombat Legacy brings as a highly successful web series?
Absolutely. What the series does is bring to life the characters and kind of world behind Mortal Kombat. In particular, introducing the characters and giving some of their backstory and their origin stories. And in our case, what we were trying to do was really bring to life Kevin Tancherone, the director's vision of those backstories. You know, he has a particularly sort of gritty, realistic, very rooted vision of the Mortal Kombat world, and that was something we were trying to bring to life in the series.
All right, now how did the idea of Mortal Kombat Legacy come together, and how long have you been working on the project?
I started on the project. It actually came together at what can only be called the terrifyingly fast speed. It really isn't the way you want to do it, but it's just the way it happened. So we started on it in November of 2010, and the first episode went live in April of 2011. And trust me when I tell you, most projects don't move at that kind of speed.
Right.
The genesis of the project was actually Kevin, the director, had done something in the past. He wanted to show that he could make something gritty and something that was sort of crime-related. Kevin comes from a dance and choreography background and had just come off the feature film Fame. So he did, on the weekends, with no permission from anyone, a viral kind of web reimagining of Mortal Kombat and posted it on YouTube. And the thing just took off, which put Warner Brothers in an interesting position where they either had to sue the guy for copyright infringement or hire him to actually take the thing and make it. And to their credit, they realized that he had captured something. You know, he had reimagined. And the other thing is, he didn't just take the existing kind of Mortal Kombat the way it had been done in the movies and the games. He reimagined it. So he really went out on a limb. But they embraced it, and so when they decided that they would give him sort of free rein to take his vision a little farther, they called us and said, "Look, we need you guys to make it happen." And so we came on board with Kevin in November and just went straight to work. I canceled my Christmas vacation. My significant other went to Hawaii with a friend, and we all just dug right in. I'm still paying for that one, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, for those who are not familiar with Mortal Kombat Legacy, where can they find it?
You can find it on YouTube. It is on machinima.com's channel, and you can reach it by going to machinima.com or by going onto YouTube and searching Mortal Kombat Legacy, and it has a series page and a dedicated channel.
There you go. I actually watched the first episode a couple minutes before the interview, and I was very impressed. So I'll be sure to check out the future episodes. Now, what would you say is the most difficult encounter when producing a web series such as Mortal Kombat Legacy?
Well, the mandate, in addition to just making the director's vision come to life, which is what a producer always is tasked with, in this case was, look, it's got to be impressive. And the world of Mortal Kombat involves a lot of fighting. In Kevin's vision of it, it involved gunfighting, explosions. 1 minute, and the next minute we're dealing with monsters, But we're working with a web series budget. If you give me $100 million, it would have its own challenges, but it would be relatively easy to do. But we were working with a very small amount of money, at which point massive gunfights and blowing things up and having, recognizable name actors and making the entire thing look like it was a movie become incredibly challenging.
Cool. Now, how much time would you say goes into the full production process of just one episode of Mortal Kombat Legacy?
Well, when you make when you make anything live action, you tend to do what's called block shooting. So you don't necessarily limit yourselves to, okay, today we're making episode 1 and we'll do that for 3 days and then we'll go into episode 2. You kind of look at locations and actors and other physical elements. You know, are we in a fantasy land that we're shooting in a studio? Are we in a real practical location? And you blow through as much of that as possible. But as a general rule, these things were each 10-minute episode was filmed in about 2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days. All right. Now, here's a question that should be very interesting for you to answer. If you could make a movie based off of any video game out there besides Mortal Kombat, which title would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. We're actually starting in on a couple things where I signed NDAs, and I'm not allowed to talk about them. So there's a couple that I can't discuss, but one that I have nothing to do with, so I'll throw it out there because I'm simply a fan, would be Left 4 Dead. I've always wanted to do a really kick-ass zombie survival story. We have a couple of other zombie things that are not related to the game industry that we're working on, but that's one, if anyone from Valve is listening, we'd love to do that.
I'll be sure. Actually, I have a Valve contact, so I'll be sure to pass that on. Now, have you ever considered taking your productions to the big screen, or are you satisfied with the opportunities presented with the internet?
Oh no, we work across all mediums. So, for instance, just before we stepped into Mortal Kombat as a digital series, we finished a little indie romantic comedy that we sold to Stars, which is the smallest of the big studios, but still it's going to be a studio indie. And right now, we're talking to a number of game companies about similar sort of Mortal Kombat-esque web projects, and we're talking to Warner Brothers and others about feature films.
Awesome. Now, for all of those pursuing the dream of becoming a film producer, what advice would you give to someone that is actually working to get that position?
I guess there's a couple things I would say. I mean, one is you got to have a thick skin, be willing to take a lot of rejection, and just keep pushing ahead. Find something you really love and push it. Find a project that you really believe in, because I think if you're just cynically approaching it in the hopes that you're going to get something made, it's going to be a long, frustrating road. It's going to be a long, frustrating road no matter what you do, so you might as well be on it with something you really love. And then the other thing I would say is find a company that's doing stuff and offer to work. If you're starting from absolute scratch, come in and offer to work for free for a few months. If you're good at what you do, they'll end up hiring you anyway, and you'll learn more getting coffee for producers than you would going to film school. And that's the God's honest truth.
All right, man. Well, that's about it. I would like to thank you for spending your valuable time to speak with me on Mortal Kombat Legacy and Contradiction Films. Before we head out, is there anything you'd like to share about the future of Contradiction?
Look for more of projects like Mortal Kombat. Obviously, I can't discuss them in detail. People in the game industry are quite, cautious about talking about what they're doing.
Oh,
but,
trust me, I know.
I think that, Mortal Kombat has really established a model now based on the audience and the traffic it got. I think people can expect to see more of these attached to big game franchises coming at them.
All right, guys. Well, that's it with Tim Carter, writer, producer, and co-owner of Contradiction Films.
Thanks very much.
And I'm back. So if you're in the gaming or film, Tim Carter had a lot of advice for you. Definitely be sure to check out Mortal Kombat Legacy if you have yet to do so. It's a great show. I want to give a huge shout out to Kimberly, who's actually the PR contact who set this up with the interview with Tim. I never heard of the show personally. Yeah, I know. But I actually watched it after hearing about it and was amazed. And then to hear Tim say it was low budget, I was like, what? It looks incredible. So huge shout outs to Tim. Huge shout outs to Kimberly. Had a great time interviewing Tim. He had a lot of good advice and I learned a lot. So that concludes it for this week's episode of Nick's Gaming View. And it's episode number 46. If you want to contact me, you can email me at admin@thegameraccess.com. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/thegameraccess. And be sure to visit the site at thegameraccess.com. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who contacted me last week about the used games personally via email. I received like 25 emails from people and had 25 discussions. So I had a great time talking to you guys. Even though most of you guys disagree with me, I appreciate you guys just taking the time to contact me and have an educated conversation. That concludes Nick's Game Review episode number 46. Check back next Saturday for Nick's Game Review episode number 47. I'm out.
Access granted.